whole wagon dog thing. Yes. I see what you're saying. It's not fascinating. Maybe you take the past 2 hours. Get in a car and then you drive in. Like everybody else. Let's, better if you showed up now and continued over and stuff. By the way, I should probably sit down and just think going. We'll talk later. Oh, no problem. I'm Jaffa. No, Jaffa. Yes, my folks down. Nice to meet you. Yeah, I couldn't argue with this name. If I knew that growing up with this name would have been long, I would have put it more of a fight. Exactly. It's a very nice pretty all the choppers on it. At the moment, I'm national nonprofit. The number one thing we help you with is health insurance. The association is a separate video so if the insurance companies are trying to for the members, the association pick up this endorsement, they will endorse
Hello. Hey everybody. Welcome to LA2M. Vince, can we turn that up a little bit if you're back there? Just a smidge. But anyways, welcome to Lunch and Over Marketing. My name is Derek Maribon. In case you don't know me, I have a company called Ingenics Digital Marketing. Hey Carter. Carter's our photographer. Make sure to smile. Actually, you're supposed to look like you're not actually planning to take a picture, so it looks more natural. So when he comes at you with the camera, yeah, he's not there. All right, so just look your best, okay? Yeah, Carter Sherline's our photographer. Vince Shimolevsky's our podcaster in the back. Roger Rayle is our videocaster. This is, you can watch this live on Ustream, which I think a lot of people must be watching it live on Ustream today because it's not as packed as usual in here. You all know D. Davey. D. Davey over there with the hat. Yes, D. She handles all of our PR. And Stacy from Dollar Bill Copying is our treasurer. And LA2M is a non-profit, which means we don't make money, but we do pass the hat. We're old school. So if you feel so inclined, you can throw a couple bucks in the hat. We suggest maybe 3. The money goes to support our costs, and we also try and do some charitable things around the community, which is great. So just to give you an idea of format, is there anyone here for the first time? Any first timers? 1, 2? Okay, 2 newcomers, welcome. The format is we speak, well, he speaks for about 30 minutes or so. There's maybe some time for some Q&A, and then around 12:45 with the smaller group today, we'll go into introductions. And you can stand up and tell us just a little bit about yourself, your name, your company, and how we can help you. And that's real nice. All these podcasts, all the videos are going to be hosted along with the slide presentations at LA2M.org. So please go to LA2M.org to view these presentations. There's a bunch on there. So if you missed any talks, you can go back. I encourage you also to join our page on Facebook and join our group on LinkedIn. Those are some other ways you can stay connected. Sound good? Cool. So, great. So today's speaker is talking about a book. This is the first time we're trying a book review, book presentation, and I'm actually really excited about it. Charlie is a friend of mine. He's a long-time lammer. He's been coming back since we were, I don't know, were you at the pizza place or was it the falafel place? The pizza place. Okay.
No, falafel.
You came to the falafel place too, yeah. So we've gone from falafel to pizza to Irish boxes. We've evolved in our food chain. And, but anyways, Charlie is I don't know, he does a lot of technical things. He explained it to me just a minute ago, but he does analytical things, and he is now splitting his time between Chicago and Ann Arbor, so we're grateful when he's here. And when he's away, then we got to go visit him in Chicago, which I hope to do sometime maybe later this spring. And he's going to be talking about the book called The Art of the Start by Guy Kawasaki. So if you could please give Charlie Hammerslough
Can you all hear me with this? Okay, great, thanks. I'm really inspired by this book. I thought this would be a good book to call to the attention of people here. There's so many resources in Ann Arbor and southeastern Michigan for starting a business, for people in transition, for people who are thinking about entrepreneurship, that it seemed like a time and a good time to start to talk about this book. Guy Kawasaki, how many of you have heard of Guy Kawasaki or read his stuff? He's a well-known author, well-known blogger, one of the people who really is a good thinker very early in the digital revolution, and I'll talk a little bit about his background, but he's got a lot of the credibility and some street cred that I think people should bring to talk about entrepreneurship, himself being an almost compulsive entrepreneur. So his book is called The Art of the Start, and I'll talk in a second about what that means and who he is. Well, first of all, who's Guy Kawasaki? He's an American born in Honolulu, 1954. He's an entrepreneur, venture capitalist, as I said, author, blogger, and he in fact was a pioneer in the whole idea of computer marketing and technology marketing, and in fact I believe has really left his mark on the way technology is marketed. And we'll see what that means in a second. Okay. He really made this product what it is. I don't know if you guys recognize what that is. Some of you may not. But I have a quick question. How many of you have actually physically touched one of these? How many of you used one? How many of you used one for business purpose? Wow, that's pretty good. But this is Ann Arbor. Okay. There was a time when you saw thousands of these in the medical center. That's a 128K Macintosh. And he came on really stroke of luck. He was looking for something new. He'd been working actually as a jewelry salesman with an MBA from USC and UCLA and a degree from Stanford. And he came on at Apple and started working on the Macintosh as the Macintosh was being launched. And he basically developed the whole idea of user advocates, of passionate user advocates, of creating marketing programs that would create user evangelists to go out and become fanatically loyal and essentially create what wasn't quite called then viral marketing, but also evangelism. Since then, he's been a compulsive starter of companies. He went from Apple after about 4 years to starting a database company. I don't think that was terribly successful, but he has gone on to quite a number of things. Probably he's best known in terms of his entrepreneurial ventures for the venture capital group he started called Garage.com, which does all sorts of trading activities, startup funding, early stage funding, and so on. He's a great contributor to the community. He's also had time to write a few books. He's written 8 books. I only captured the image of 7 of them from Amazon. I personally have only read Rules for Revolutionaries, which is really quite good, year 2000. This book, The Art of the Start, was written in 2004. There may be a little bit of updating that could take place in the last 5 years, but frankly I think most of it is extremely solid and relevant still. His newest book, which just came out about a year and a half ago, is called Reality Check. I have not read it. If you have, you might mention it yourselves. The core premises of The Art of the Start is that entrepreneurship is a state of mind. It's not necessarily something that you do, but it's a way of creating something new, and it can take many forms. It could be the next great company started in a garage, as Hewlett-Packard literally was. It could, in fact, be entrepreneurship, starting a new division, promulgating some new ideas in an existing company. And what do you have to do to make that happen? And what kind of attitude do you have to bring to make that happen? And then lastly, it could be something like starting a nonprofit, starting a church or school. It doesn't necessarily have to be for profit. In fact, it's just about starting an enterprise, an organized enterprise to accomplish a goal. his is not theoretical. He may have gone to business school, he may speak in business schools, but this is a completely practical book. It's really got a lot of instructions. It's not sort of cloying checklists of what you ought to do. It's just a lot of practical advice. And then lastly, maybe because he's done it so often, he takes the position that entrepreneurship is really an artistic undertaking, and that it should be elegant and spare and simple and straightforward. Perhaps that was something that he took from the Macintosh experience, but frankly, it might have been something that he brought to the Macintosh experience. I'm not really sure. Oh, today what I'm going to do is really just concentrate on a couple of earlier chapters. The start of the start is what I'm calling it. I mean, this is really the hardest part. How do you transition? How do you decide that you want to be an entrepreneur? What does it really mean to start something, to make that all-in commitment to start something? And I'm going to go through and highlight a few useful suggestions he has on early stage bootstrapping of a company, as well as what do you do when you partner. He's about 9 or 10 chapters like this. I'm just going to focus on those 2 chapters, on bootstrapping and partnership. And then lastly, I'm going to give a highly idiosyncratic, for what it's worth, tour through what I see as some of the current opportunities in marketing entrepreneurship that we have. The first question really is to ask yourself, your loved ones, and so on, why do it at all? Really, if you've done it, if you haven't asked yourself this question, then you're very unusual or very lucky. Okay, but why do it? There's some real hard parts to it. Financially, there's a lot of uncertainty. Okay, very few people are starting ventures completely financially backed. Emotionally, anybody who's ever done any kind of sales, which is most of us in one way or another, you're faced rejection all the time. You have to learn how to learn from your failures. And you're also, frankly, if you're a success, you start to become responsible for other people's jobs, and it can be kind of lonely. And their well-being is dependent on you. And then lastly, frankly, the work can be endless. It's not like it just all kind of closes down at 5, you go home, because it's somebody else's responsibility for the profit and loss. So, according to Guy Kawasaki, he spent 20 years thinking about this, and it took him 20 years to realize there's only really one answer as to why one would want to do this. It's pretty simple. To make meaning. What does he mean by to make meaning? If you're just in it for the fun, the prestige, the power, the money, all that sort of thing, it's probably not going to be sufficient. It may be for some people, but it's not going to be in the really long run. What does make it worthwhile is to create meaning. That is, to do something that's important, that projects your values into the world in a way that perhaps makes the world a better place. So he gives us an example. Making the world a better place. Improving the quality of life. Righting a terrible wrong. For example, starting a nonprofit for justice. Or preventing the end of something good. So, if you can't decide, even with thinking about an entrepreneurial venture, or if you're in the middle of one, what your meaning is, you should ask yourself this question. If my organization never existed, the world would be worse because blank. He doesn't give a lot of exercises. That's one exercise he gives. Okay? And you should be able to answer that question. I'm going to give an example. At a critical time in the development of the company, I'm working on a startup now called DemoMetrics. This advice was really helpful. And this is why I keep this book. I took the dust cover off a long time ago. I kind of keep it in my bag when I travel and I go through stuff every so often. And let me just explain what happened. I started this company called DemoMetrics. And people said, well, but what do you do? What's that? And my original answer, and it got honed down to a little bit less than this long paragraph that can go on, frankly, for half an hour. We use proven embedded real-time marketing predictive analytics in the call center space to improve upsell and cross-sell. We coach agents with models of a, I mean, we can go on and on and on about that, okay? After I read this book, I realized the right thing to say and the motivation for the company and what really makes me want to get up and go and make it happen is we just make call and customer service less annoying, okay? Our software tells agents how to have a better interaction with inbound clients. It's that simple, okay? Don't offer somebody a cross-sell or an upsell if this is the 5th time they've called with the same problem in the last 3 weeks. Okay, that should be really simple. In fact, it's not a simple problem to solve, but to me, a lot of the gratification is just getting people off the phone faster, maybe selling them something that's more relevant to their needs. What Guy did, and how do you start anything? How do you think about starting anything? Where do you get ideas? I'll talk a little bit about sort of the notion of innovation and where we might get ideas from. He says, look, start by observing the world. What needs improving? What's not working? I didn't really start this way by getting really annoyed at customer service, but I observed, actually behind the scenes in India, people really, really getting annoyed at customer service. And I've had all the same annoyances you've had. Think big, okay? If you're going to be improving, if you're starting a business to improve business processes, do it well. Be big. Try to come up with something that's 10 times better. Not 20% better, 10 times better. Don't try to do it alone. Find a couple of soulmates to go along for the journey. Some people who believe in you and will also give you the idea, can reflect to you back honestly what they think of your ideas, and vice versa. Design different. There's a lot in his book about really the Macintosh experience, about how design and the intrinsic process of design can generate differentiation. Use prototypes as market research. If this isn't self-evident, that this is the way technology is generally marketed, that somebody just slaps prototype together, throws it out there, and finds out people's reactions. To me, that's exactly how most technology is, frankly, market researched. Okay. And then lastly, the really two very important ones are, what's your business model? Okay, you don't need to invent a new business model. There's a lot of good ones developed over the last couple thousand years. Okay? But you do have to understand how you're going to make money. Okay? Or if it's nonprofit, how you're at least going to fund your continuing operations. Passing the hat's a really old one. I mean, that's a good business model. And then what he calls about weaving a map, which is start to get real, start to plan, start to be concrete. What are your milestones? Okay, what are you trying to achieve? What are your assumptions? What are your tasks? Okay. I'm going to talk, that's sort of the start of the start. Okay, how do you just get from where you are to at least getting a little bit of momentum? It takes a lot of force. Now this is, if you're lucky, you'll be at the stage of bootstrapping a company a relatively brief time, but it's a very critical time because it's when the company is formed, when the organization really begins to prove its business model. He says, I think in a kind of interesting passage, I may never get invited to speak at a business school again, but it says manage cash flow, not profitability. Which is to say, figure out where your money's going to come from, not what your profit's going to be, at least at first. Okay? You can increase, there's ways to improve profitability that are relatively straightforward. Initiating and beginning a cash flow isn't necessarily that obvious. And some ideas are, look, choose products that intrinsically have a short sales cycle. Piggyback on other successful products. The iPhone is probably a huge, great example of all those applications piggybacking on a great a framework. Pick something with recurring revenue. Pick something that has, it's persuasive on its own, that it's obvious what its function is and how it works. And if you can, and you find it, pick a megatrend. Try to ride that. This was frankly a big one for me. Engage in bottom-up forecasting. as opposed to top-down forecasting. I'm really very grateful to the referees who read my business plan last year as part of the competition here. The most useful comment was, you're doing top-down forecasting, and it went something like this. There are 60,000 call centers in America. They employ 3 million people. If 5% of them need my product, and we can make pitches to 1% of those 5%, and close the deal, or create, that's your pipeline, then close the deal on 10% of the pitches, and actually turn out this amount of revenue per seat sold, well then we're going to be millionaires. Okay? That's top-down forecasting. That may be appropriate if you're Procter & Gamble and you're launching a product into China. Okay? If you're an entrepreneur, you need to think, if I've got one sales guy and he can make 10 sales calls a day, and he can build a pipeline of 5 a week and close one of those every, 1 or 2 of those a week, what kind of revenue can I expect? In other words, try to, instead of going from this sort of massive idea of a market, go from the bottom up of what can your efforts actually achieve in terms of revenue. That's actually really, really critical. Ship and then test. He says, don't do this if you're a pharmaceutical company. Okay, okay, or medical supplies, or critical components for rocket ships or something like that. But the fact is, if you sit there and you're perfectionistic about version 1.0, there's never going to be version 1.1. Okay, there may not even be a version 1.0. And we all know that perfectionism is the enemy of the okay. I probably mangled that quote somehow. And then this is also very useful. Consider starting as a service business. The sales cycle for a service business is less. The recurring revenue stream is sometimes more tenable. Business models are sometimes a little more straightforward than in manufacturing businesses. Sometimes a little more elaborate and robust than manufacturing businesses. Understaff, outsource everything that you don't really want to have to deal with. There's so many great technological tools, for example, for sharing, for email. There's just a million things out there. You don't need to set up an Exchange server. Okay, there's just a lot of infrastructure you can just forget about. Concentrate on what you need to be good at. Let's invest in the big stuff. Don't worry about office furniture. Okay. This is some stuff from what I think is useful out of his chapter on partnering. And you'd be amazed, especially if any of you are like veterans of the .com era, how many completely unlikely partnerships there were. AOL Time Warner, nobody in their right mind would have thought that would have been a partnership that would work. It took 10 years and billions of dollars to unravel. That's just a headline. There's so many partnerships that are done for prestige reasons, or the CEOs meet on a plane, or somebody thinks it's a great idea, or they're going to patch over their weaknesses with the other people's product. Okay, the only reasons, and I'm sure this is born out of a lot of experience on his part, for really doing a partnership is to improve your cash flow, to improve your revenue, to reduce your costs. Spreadsheet reasons, things that are going to fall to the bottom line for both companies. It's got to be a win-win deal, And then the 2 things here that I've actually had some experience with: make sure that there's buy-in in the middle and at the bottom of both organizations. If the engineering people or the database people can't stand it, but the marketing people think it's great, it's not going to happen. You have to have buy-in all the way. The other thing is you gotta have a point person. There's got to be a human being in each company to whose job it is to make that partnership work. It's not just, we're going to have a lot of meetings and have a lot of processes and we're going to interface this way. You really have to have people whose bonuses depend on making sure that partnership works. In fact, maybe whose jobs depend on it. And then, lastly, I hate to tell you how much time I spent on things like this. In-house counsel for large companies, even medium-sized companies, and sometimes outside counsel for small companies, very often see themselves as the adults in the room, keeping the kids from getting into trouble. So you can't have that contract provision and so on. His advice is, work with the kinds of lawyers who understand the business, want to enable the business, and don't bring them in first. If any of you have experience about this, I'd be really happy to hear you share it later. I like lawyers a lot, okay? All right. I'm just going to talk, very idiosyncratic, I got 3 slides here. I'm just going to talk about where I think there's some opportunities in terms of marketing, entrepreneurship, and some of these just slop out of marketing into technology, maybe into PR, various types of things. Look, the old classic way of innovating is cross-fertilization. You take something that works someplace and you apply it in a new area. Okay? I'm seeing a lot of things about cultural anthropology now being applied to understanding social networks, because the cultural anthropologists have spent 80 years developing tools for understanding how groups evolve, how meaning is created, and so on. Apply marketing communication principle to social media. Raise the game. Okay, understand it. Those are just 2 things from social media. Something like applying predictive analytics to call centers. Find niches where there's no best practices yet. This is where the field is open. Right? The greatest diversity ecologically is in a desert, because there's many, many ways to survive in a harsh environment. Okay? So I believe the social media wave is really yet to crest. The adoption rate has been phenomenal. Twitter is starting to become a major tool for the way customers and companies are interacting, with the way market researchers are understanding trends, the way political movements are formed, and so on. It's such a simple tool, but in fact, it's actually really impressive. Even in the last 6 months, I think it's really changed. So questions are, I mean, there are opportunities. How do you understand it? How do you monetize it? Okay? You know, how do you integrate it with other marketing? People are just out there flailing around. I mean, I think Derek's on something good here. I mean, the whole notion of understanding how do you integrate this with the rest of best practices. Envelope marketing. I've actually been doing a consulting project on the side with a company that has a very easy business model. They pay people to open email. Okay, you'd be surprised how effective that actually is. Essentially, you're buying their permission to market to them. So, if there's other ways of doing that, let's think about it. There's always the opportunity for translating big, sophisticated company processes down to small and medium-sized companies. And I know a lot of people have been liberated from working for large companies in this area. Social entrepreneurship, okay? I think there's some fascinating work left to be done in this. It's just starting to be done. Things like, I mean, it was, how many millions of dollars has the Red Cross raised now through this 90999? Well, you can do it through Twitter, or you can do it through your cell phone, okay? But that's probably just the tip of the iceberg. That's what's sort of now broken the surface of mainstream consciousness, that, hey, wow, there's some incredibly powerful ways to raise awareness, to raise funds, and so on. And there is, in fact, a microfinance peer-to-peer site called Kiva.org, which has got an extremely interesting business model. So new business models and so on. And then these are always on the verge of taking off, but crowdsourcing and crowdcasting, which in fact are in some ways very old ideas, but the notion is that you put things out there, you find out people's reactions, and as a group, people can create with these, and they can be self-improving processes. I think there's some room for still using that, not just hotel reviews or restaurant reviews. I think that there's some actually very powerful marketing channels to be developed through crowds. This is a personal need. I would subscribe and pay good money to a newsletter that really made sense of a lot of this stuff. I know they're out there and so on. I still think there's good opportunity for that to happen. There's a lot of stuff that's given away on blogs. I still, in some ways, like a lot of people, would rather pay for the content if I knew it was reliable. Location-based geomarketing. There's a huge amount of new information and new data that are out there, huge amounts of integration of data with computational power that I think are increasing the likelihood that as you walk by a store, you may get a text message or get some sort of specialized application that will pop a coupon onto your phone for that store. This stuff's starting to happen. And then lastly, just a couple of other things. The long tail, the notion that 80% of the profits in the top 20% of sales, items that are, say, sold on Amazon. Stores like Amazon and Netflix and any number of web-based stores get an enormous amount of the revenue from items that are ordered only very sporadically. Okay? And the disintermediation, the lowering of search costs, the disintermediation between yourself and the actual inventory holder and the producer has changed things in a way that there's a really long tail, and there's a lot of money to be made by marketing to the 80% of people who have really very niche needs. All of us at some point have a real niche need. Like, for example, I went online and bought a part for a clutch for a 1981 Honda motorcycle yesterday. Probably not a lot of need for that. And then there's a lot of exciting work coming out of academia. Some of you may read the Freakonomics blog on the New York Times. That's sort of the tip of the iceberg in terms of the new behavioral economics, which is a kind of a joining of economics, game theory, social psychology, and so on, but understanding how people process risk and understand information. I think there's some really interesting marketing potential ideas in it. That's pretty much all I have. I don't know where we are at time, but
We can take some questions.
I'll just point out that I violated one of Guy Kawasaki's suggestions, the 10-20-30 rule for pitching, which is 10 slides, 20 minutes, 30-point font. So, sorry.
Who's got a question?
Or an observation.
Discussion, observation. All right, well, here's first.
I just have a question about finding those soulmates that you talked about. Any processes for identifying people that share your vision?
Sure, you're the middle one.
Yeah, right here.
Lamb.
Networking. I mean, get out there. You can't do it from behind a computer screen.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one because you get. What does it mean by soulmate? It means that you have a shared vision of what the business should be.
Well, you know, it's really interesting. The whole notion of collaboration. Most people are either idea people or the sort of practical, operational person. Very, very few people can be both. And I think the greatest collaborations in history and in other ways are typically between an idea person who's spinning off ideas and the sort of the grounded person who says, no, that can't happen. So I don't think the soulmate is necessarily the person who's just like you. They may have a different vision, but out of the conflict of your visions, that can work in your favor.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, that's
Mark.
well, I see soulmates as people who you're good friends, but you can disagree quite a bit on almost anything, and be okay with the difference in the argument, and that is a good writer for me in business.
I totally agree that you really need different perspectives, perhaps a clear vision together to share, and it's really a matter of finding people that you can have real conversations with. You don't need guest people around you to nod their heads. You need people to make questions and to make you go further and to develop you. So it's probably very difficult, like you said, or what you're questioning, how you can find the right people that are going to help you become the best and do the best with your business. So that is a really important question, is where you can find.
He actually talks a little bit about this. Who should you bring your new idea? Who should you bring your new idea in front of? He said a couple of things. He said, ask your mom. Try to explain it to your mother or your dad, because really, if you can't explain it to them and they love you and everything, you probably haven't quite got a simple enough idea to be able to explain in a 10-minute presentation or a 100-word elevator speech to a potential prospect. Okay. He said, secondly, never ask a teenager any advice about technology. He said they get it so quickly that they're useless. Okay, they will not help you make it easy. They will just figure it out without complaining about it. And then lastly, he's talking about the process of sales and rainmaking, what he calls rainmaking. And he said you'd be surprised how many executives will just ask their assistant, well, what do you think of that guy? Okay, so his advice there is don't blow anyone off. Okay? Don't ever imagine that someone is not important.
I was wondering on your last slide, you had mentioned selling, to people that want obscure items, and you mentioned Anderson 2006. Is that a book reference?
Oh yeah, sorry. It's called The Long Tail. How the future of business is in selling less of more. More of less. Sorry. It's just called The Long Tail.
Oh, okay.
A guy named Anderson. It started out as an article in Wired about 2004. They developed it into a book. It talks about essentially the Pareto principle in retailing.
Could you expand a little bit on the point you said how, I believe it was the GLEQ competition where you submitted your business plan. Could you just talk about the value of maybe submitting to business plan competitions where you get feedback from real VCs and things like that as part of the process?
Yeah, I found it invaluable. I can only talk about my own experience. You can labor in obscurity, you can have the greatest idea in the world with someone, but if you can't communicate it to someone. The value of GLEQ is that it's a definite format, it's a definite deadline, there's a requirement for collaboration, it's a competition, so you're going to try to do the best, and there's actually potential for monetary prize. Although I think that the greatest prize that they award is the recognition that you can then perhaps take to somebody potentially who will fund it. And for me, it really helped me, it forced me to coalesce a whole pile of ideas together.
Great ideas on how to get started. Since you have a business now, the people that work for you, do you try and bring them in on this as well?
Oh, yeah. Well, I recommend this book to anybody who's in my office because they see it and they know I'm here. To be honest, I've made some mistakes that this book has helped me recognize. The first partner that I went to, a technical partner, had great credentials, but as Guy Kawasaki points out, the greatest credentials just says that they've succeeded in the past. Okay, he basically advises the way a good director, an independent director would go find new people. And this is find people who don't have a great track record, but who are really promising on the fundamentals. And I've got essentially a couple of new partners who I think are much better as far as that goes. This is a practical manual. This is not something that you'll just kind of read and say, hey, that was interesting. Here's some ideas. It's so full of ideas and techniques that I imagine I'm going to keep coming back to it.
Yeah, could you make some more comments about the topic of lawyers and how would you identify an enabling lawyer versus a preventing, and how do you find that type of relationship?
Do you have any disclosures to make first, sir? Wow. Well, I can make so many comments. My girlfriend's a lawyer too. This is being streamed, but I think she's a worker.
There are no lawyers watching.
Look, salespeople very often will call the law people, the sales prevention team. Okay, and very often lawyers do, out of their experience, see themselves as the naysayers or as the grown-ups in the room. Okay, and I've seen that, and that's really not the right kind of lawyer, in the sense that it's not a consultative role. A lawyer isn't just there to prevent you from hurting yourself. A lawyer, to my mind, a good lawyer, is one who helps you can be your partner in that sense, your soulmate, who also shares your vision and wants to enable your vision. Okay, and I've met both kinds. It's hard to define exactly, but I know it when I see it. To quote another lawyer.
And perhaps another way of
phrasing that is, it's more about finding somebody who will help you with risk management as opposed to risk avoidance.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You know, if you think, the best contract is the one you never look at, right? And if the deal isn't a real deal, if it's just a paper deal, no matter how good the lawyering is, it's not going to work. If it's not a win-win situation, if it doesn't address underlying business needs and concerns. So that's what he means by the lawyers should be brought in near the end of the process once you've done all of your work. But I do like that formulation that they should help you manage the risk rather than just sort of reflexively keeping you away from all of this.
Any more questions? All right, let's give Charlie a big round of applause. Thank you, Charlie. Your parting gift is waiting outside for you. Okay. All right, so now we pass the mic, and you get to introduce yourselves. So please keep it brief. You know, it's like a business pitch competition. You don't want to bore anyone. So we'll start here. We'll go around the room. I'm going to take off. D. Davey's going to close the meeting because I have a client meeting to go to. So I'm Derek. I'll see you next week. And here's Mark.
Hi there, I'm Mark Olivier, and I do affiliate marketing.
Hi, I'm Diane Sheldon-Koo, and I am bringing social media and sales together.
Hello, I'm Beth Stoner. I have a company called Delta Possibilities. We do strategic communication consulting, and I'm teaching a series of organizational storytelling workshop pieces for
Smile at the streaming audience. I'm Monty Fowler. I do freelance web consulting, websites, social media, webwidestudio.com.
Hi, I'm Dean Jeffrey with WorkNet Systems. We are your company IT department.
Hi, I'm Dr. Carol Dunnitz, and today I'm Athena. I'm a professional speaker and writer and strategist. I'm also an actress and singer. I'm also a composer. I have a book out, Louder Than Thunder, which has gotten over 24 positive reviews in the national media. It's based on a riddle, and this ties into why I'm dressed this way. What is louder than thunder, as highly charged as lightning, and more powerful than the fierce north wind? And the illustration has 3 gods, and I wasn't going to dress as a god, so I'm a goddess. I also have a new musical that just came out called Bernhardt on Broadway. The CD just arrived on Sunday, which is pretty exciting. If anybody's interested in either of those things, let me know. You get it plus an autograph for the retail price.
No song today?
My name is Vivian Bird. I do internal communications for fairly large corporations typically, and which usually includes like HR, benefits, those sorts of materials.
Hi, I'm Susan Link, and I'm a retailer, and basically I try to make retail more effective, and I guess my last position kind of played the role of mom, telling all the kids to behave because the numbers weren't saying what they wanted it to say.
Hi, my name is Jane Delancey, Delancey Design, and we do website design and development and graphic design. Pretty much our goal is to make your site not look like everyone else's.
Hello, Lanny White with growbiz.org. We navigate small business growth, and today we're looking for some sales help.
Hi, I'm Amanda Hike. I'm from Digital 10 Network. We have custom digital television networks. Right now we have 2 networks, one that operates in the Michigan Secretary of State branch offices, and also one that is in the Michigan Welcome Centers, and we offer local advertising to the captive audiences that are in those facilities.
I'm Benji Ben Baruch. I do quantitative analysis, market research, applied sociology. I turn your data into information, and I help you build better analytic capabilities.
Hi, I'm Linda Lawson. I've been here for a while. I'm actually back in doing private psychology practice and being a master's student in integrated marketing and communications.
Hello, everyone. I'm Megan Crosby from the Ann Arbor Chamber of Commerce. We help businesses save money and give them more exposure.
Hello, I'm Emily Taylor. I'm with the Whole Brain Group, and we do a lot of great web things, social media integration, websites, iPhone apps, you name it, we do it.
My name is Thomas Schrank with Synopathy. We just launched our website, how to say goodbye to PMS in less than 5 minutes. We have an MP3 that does all that for you. We got a press release out last week, got a call from the home shopping guide. We'll see where it takes us. If you have any issue, if you have any interest in the information, I can give you a card.
Hi, I'm Bob Fran. I own Bob Fran Photography. It's a commercial and advertising photo studio working with your products and people on websites or
PMS, huh? I'm Deb Nystrom. I was here a couple weeks ago presenting on Posterous, and I just want to use my little piece to mention that we're scheduling the workshop and we're closing in on 2 dates. So if anybody on streaming or here is interested, they should get on the Posterous Ann Arbor, Google that, and you'll find the blog where you can put in the dates that you're available if you want to come to it. It is free, and it's going to be held about the middle to end of February, probably in the evening for about an hour.
Hi, I'm Kevin Malley, and I run a business called Partnering Management Strategies, or PMS. That's a lie. I've recently retired as a partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers and now working as an executive coach for small companies, to paraphrase Charlie, who are looking to take global best practices and apply them to at an appropriate scale to smaller businesses.
And later with affordable computers, we provide sales and services of refurbished computers.
I'm Wayne Anker. I'm a freelance web developer.
I'm Parker Finn. I work with the Business Assistance Program at the University of Michigan, and we assist small manufacturers with grant funding.
Hi, I'm Ben Shaleski with BC Web Design. In addition to doing audio capture like I do here every week, we also do video. And we just recently upgraded all our cameras to HD, so if you need HD video for an event or your website, let us know.
How do you do? My name is John Walzer. I'm here today representing the U.S. Census. We're looking to hire hundreds of people. So, for example, if you're an out-of-work actor, this would be a great opportunity for you. Anyone who can hear my voice can dial this toll-free number, 1-866-861-2010, and follow the voice menus. They'll ask you to type in your local zip code. We're looking to hire hundreds of people, and we pay between $14 and $18 an hour. If you have a second language, then you'll get a little bit more. So just dial 866-861-2010 and say, I want to be a census worker.
My name is Todd McWilliams. I work for Adams Outdoor. I just recently moved here from California. Nobody told me about the snow, apparently. But I'm here to network to see what Ann Arbor is all about. So.
Hello, my name is Mark Tucker. I too just recently moved to the Ann Arbor area, and I'm an independent video producer-director.
You're not allowed to pass the baton, by the way. Mark Reynolds, Grow Biz. We're looking for sales helpers. We do not have PMS. And we like to promote other folks, and affordable computers is one of the folks we like to talk about. So I'm going to pass the baton.
Thanks, Mark. Mike Nato, Affordable Computers on South Industrial here in town. We save a lot of people money on their computer equipment and technical support needs.
Hi, I'm Ed Carlson. Transitioning Senior Executive is one of the titles I use. Starting up a small company as well. It's an LLC that is involved in the aerospace industry, which is where I was formerly a CEO. Also involved with another company that is developing a new very light personal jet. So If there's anybody out there that would like to do some investing in the very light jet market, see me afterwards. Thank you.
Hi, I'm John Demetrio. I own a couple companies here in Ann Arbor. Proud member of the chamber. And one of the companies is Protect Painters. We do residential and commercial painting. And that's the one I usually promote when I come to these events. And I'm always looking for people and marketing advice. So, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Joffrey Tausig, and I'm the local rep here in town for the America's Business Benefit Association. We're a national nonprofit, and we help individuals, families, and small business save money on some 60-plus services. If you're interested in saving some money, come see me after.
Hi everyone, I'm Kendra Curran, local owner of the Entrepreneur Source, and I work with people who've been liberated from large companies and who are thinking about franchise ownership. Because what we know is franchisors are looking for executives who know how to manage people, projects, and budgets. So if you know of anyone who has been liberated and thinks business ownership is what they'd like to do, please come see me.
Hi, I'm Steve Califf, and I offer CFO consulting services to early stage companies. And a couple of examples would be part-time CFO or fundraising strategy.
Hi, I'm Amy Pienta. I'm a professor, a sociologist at the University of Michigan. I come to these meetings in part because I help out at IngenX in doing research for them. And the other thing that interests me about LA2M is that I regularly review grant applications for the NIH, and I review small business innovation awards. And so I'm always trying to figure out, I know the science and how to evaluate science, but I don't know how to evaluate the business of the things. So I find these meetings enormously helpful.
Hi, I'm Carter Sherlin from Print Studios, and I do commercial photo and portrait photography. And I guess the project I just finished is on YouTube. If you type in Run Barbados, you see what I shot with a little flip cam as I went around for 10 days doing still photography. And one of my clients, Michigan runner, Rayle Sports Publications, put up about 2 days ago. I guess it was kind of a fun question. You might get inspired to want to go to Barbados.
I'm Dee Davey, Creative Ideas Marketing. I'm an independent marketing contractor. I help medium-sized technology companies and services businesses understand and ensure that they're offering the right things to the right customers for the right reasons and not spending their marketing dollars in the wrong places. I'd also like to mention that Megan Crosby, Megan, would you stand up? Is looking after our sponsorship of the Lunch Ann Arbor Marketing newsletter. So if you want to advertise with the newsletter, please see Megan afterwards. And I also have the pleasure of announcing next week's speaker. We have, and I said this I think about 3 times this year already, another first. We haven't had a topic covering radio. And so we have Kyle Stoof coming from Ann Arbor Radio to talk about how we can use radio to beef up your marketing. So see you next week at Lunch Ann Arbor Marketing. See you then. Thank you.